Thank you, sir. Good morning. We were in China with the president when the first reports of damage to agriculture came in. And I was baffled initially because of the great disparity between the loss of lives and the damage to agriculture. Uh, but when I flew in from Villamor Air Base Saturday morning, it was then when I understood why there was so much damage to agriculture and there was minimal damage to life. Uh, Government was prepared for this. The only reason why there was so much damage to agriculture was because we could not relocate the palay. We could not relocate the cornfields. But in as far as preparations for the disaster were concerned, government really prepared for it. And this was validated by the local government officials I talked with when I arrived Saturday morning. And they said that 911, a brainchild of President Rudy Duterte, really helped a lot in preventing uh, loss of lives and protecting our people. Now, 911, according to them, really helped them. No? And yung initial advices from the national government, from NDRRMC under USEC Rick Halad, also helped them a lot. No? Sa agriculture, in the field of agriculture, the damage is estimated at about 10.2 billion pesos. And that's not only for Lawin, it also includes Karen. No? I have prepared a detailed report on this matter, and copies of this report will be given to you. Um, for for Region 2, which the President visited yesterday, the damage was estimated at 6.2 billion pesos. For Region 1, it was estimated at 1.6 billion pesos. Now, for our quick response, we are ready with 350 million pesos in quick response fund, part of which was already committed during the visit of the president in Cagayan Valley, Isabela, and Ilocos Norte last night. In Cagayan Valley, for example, aside from about 37 million worth of seeds, both corn and palay, and of course vegetables, we were able to commit 1,400 bags of rice to the provincial government of Cagayan Valley, which they could use for assistance to farmers and fishermen whose livelihood was affected by the typhoon. We also turned over 1,000 bags of rice to the province of Isabela and also Ilocos Norte. Yesterday, it was estimated that we were able to turn over about 100 million worth of immediate assistance. Where are we getting our money? Well, of course, we have the Quick Reaction Fund of 350 million, which is readily available. This could be replenished the moment we are able to expend all of this. And this could be supported by the NDRRMF, or the disaster funds, and also assistance from the president. Now, following the visit yesterday, we came up with a listing of immediate and long-term interventions. One, there is a need to immediately provide food assistance to affected subsistence farmers and fisher folk. Number two, livelihood, because if we depend on replanting, it would take another 4 months before they could eat. So we have to provide them with livelihood activities that would earn them money right away and enable them to feed their families and send their children to school. For fishermen, we are deploying bancas and nets for the fisher folks. But more than the immediate interventions, I actually brought to the attention of the President a greater problem, which I believe should be addressed on a long-term basis, or else Cagayan Valley may face disaster. As we flew over Cagayan River and Chico River, I found out that there is so much siltation in both rivers. And this has actually caused the water to overflow its banks. And this was the reason why the damage was heavy on farming communities located at the banks of the river. So there is a proposal right now to conduct a dredging and desiltation of both Chico River and Cagayan River. And this was noted by the president yesterday. In fact, in his statement, he said that there should be a deeper study on how to manage Cagayan River because it has been meandering over the years and it's covered a lot of areas already. So another thing that was taken up by the president yesterday was his recommendation to change the planting calendar in the region, because October now, because of climate change and the unpredictability of climate, October now has become a typhoon season and rainy season in Cagayan Valley. So the president yesterday recommended that there should be a review of the planting calendar in view of the realities of climate change. And this should be designed in such a way that we will avoid harvesting our crops during the rainy season or the onset of the typhoon season. Also, it was proposed yesterday that the crop insurance program of government and the system of crop insurance should be changed from actual damage to index losses, which means that we don't have to look at how much damage there is, actual physical, to the crops of the farmer in determining how much he should receive in the form of insurance coverage. We are proposing an index loss insurance policy where, for example, if you only expect 10 days of rains during a planting season and the rains would come 15 days, there should already be an insurance coverage to compensate for the index loss expected. If there is an estimated 2 weeks of sunny days during the planting season and it extends to 3 weeks, then there should already be a corresponding computation of damage to the crops of the farmer. So these are the basic things that were discussed by the president yesterday in his visit to Cagayan. But you know, I think what is remarkable is the way government responded to this calamity. The reason why there is minimal loss of lives in this, mind you, this typhoon is just as intense as Yolanda. This was in the same scale of Yolanda. I saw the treetops; they were trimmed like somebody trimmed the trees. I flew over Kalinga Apayao and I saw banana stalks twisted like ropes. We flew over mountains and even the hardwoods, no, the mountain trees were fallen by the strength of the wind of this typhoon. And I think I would like to emphasize once again that the reason why there is minimal damage to life and of course kaunti na sugatan is because government was prepared for this calamity, learning lessons from the tragedy of Yolanda. I'm now ready for your questions.
Okay, first question from Ms. Weng de la Fuente of Net 25.
Good afternoon, sir. Yesterday, the President also mentioned about the revival of Masagana 99 and Yamang Dagat program of former President Ferdinand Marcos. And he instructed, based on news reports, he instructed you to review and how do you intend to go about it po?
Ma'am, actually, the statement was not the revival of Masagana 99, because Masagana 99, for your information, was a program, a rice sufficiency program started by former President Marcos 40 years ago. The variety of rice used then is no longer available now. No? I think what the President referred to was the concept of really focusing on self-sufficiency, in both our fisheries and our rice production. And this, again, I link to the unpredictability of the climate in view of climate change. This is now actually the battle cry that we have in the Department of Agriculture. We really have to make adjustments. No? In fact, in one presentation I made in the Agriculture Ministers Conference in Peru, my presentation was subtitled Adapt, Adjust, or Die, because climate change is a reality. It affects agriculture, and we really have to make adjustments. So the focus actually, what the President intended to emphasize yesterday was focus on programs similar to Masagana 99, where government really concentrated on rice self-sufficiency and really devoted its efforts and funds to that program. In the same manner, Biyayang Dagat was also another outstanding program which could be replicated in current scenarios. No? So ito po yung hindi niya sinabing i-revive yung Masagana 99 because even if we like to, we cannot do it anymore. No? Because iba nga yung variety ng palay na ginamit nung araw. Iba din yung reality nung araw. 99, tumatama na po tayo ngayon ng 12-15 metric tons per hectare with proper support from government.
The previous administration tried to have a rice self-sufficiency, but they failed. So under this administration,
You don't achieve rice sufficiency by simply talking about it and praying for it. You have to work for it.
you're working on it now, sir.
Well, how can you expect rice sufficiency when you do not expand your irrigated areas? How can you expect rice sufficiency when you do not support your farmers with good seeds, fertilizer, and sufficient irrigation water? I mean, that explains my statement. You don't just wish for it. You don't just pray for it. You have to work for it. You want to achieve rice sufficiency, you have to support it. You have to. There are three things important to food production. Number one is water. You cannot have food without water. Number two, in the context of rice production, you have to have good seeds. The old seeds that our farmers have been using could only produce a maximum of 3.9 metric tons per hectare per harvest. That is our national average. But the hybrids now that some of our outstanding farmers are using could produce 12, 14, 15, 16 metric tons per hectare per harvest. That's a difference of 8 tons compared to 3.9. So you have to provide them with water, you have to provide them with good seeds, and you have to provide them fertilizers. If you just wish for this, it's not going to come your way. You have to provide these interventions to the farmers for you to realize rice sufficiency. And that is what we are doing right now.
Okay, next question from Karen Lema of Reuters. Please use the microphone. Thank you.
Secretary, is the damage to palay significant enough that the government might consider additional rice imports? Thank you.
As of the moment, I don't think so. Cagayan Valley actually is one of our major rice production areas. But the good thing is that some of our farmers were able to harvest their palay ahead of the typhoon. And that's the reason why I agree with the President when he said that there should be a review of the planting calendar. We should adjust our planting season so that it would not come during the rainy season and typhoon season.
Next question. Any more questions? None? All right. Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
follow up.
Sir, just a quick one, since this is also probably your area. Are you privy to the meeting that the President had with some of Chinese officials? Because he said yesterday that he expressed optimism that our Filipino fishermen might be able to come back to Scarborough Shoal in the next few days. I was wondering if you had any other information beyond that.
I was actually with the President during the bilateral talks. I was a seat away from him. But maybe they discussed that in the one-on-one conversation. It was not discussed during the bilaterals. But I heard very clearly during the bilateral talks that President Xi Jinping of China emphasized the willingness of the Chinese government to support the Philippine government in its efforts to produce more food for the people. In fact, he mentioned repeatedly agriculture. Uh, and I was very, very happy about it because earlier on, when we were in Basilan on October 10 of this year, I mentioned to the president that for Philippine agriculture and fisheries to be able to really address poverty in the countryside, we must once and for all fast track the establishment of the foundations of good agriculture and fisheries. What do I mean about this? Look, right now, the Food and Agriculture Organization is telling us that 40% of the total fish catch of the country is lost to spoilage because we don't have cold storage, we don't have ice making facilities, and we don't have fish landing. 16% of our harvest is lost because of post-harvest losses. So I told the president, Mr. President, I said, if you would allow me to, I'd like to make exploratory talks with Chinese funding institutions to possibly finance the completion of all farm-to-market roads in the country during your term, the completion of the construction of fish landing, cold storage, and ice-making facilities over the next 5 years, and the establishment of post-harvest facilities and the procurement of machineries for agriculture over the next 5 years. Because I don't know what the next president's mindset would be in as far as agriculture is concerned. In as far as President Rudy Duterte is concerned, I admire his the depth of his understanding of agriculture. In fact, he's one of the very few leaders of this country who campaigned on the battle cry, available and affordable food for the Filipino. So I said, let's do it once and for all, Mr. President, because the longer we prolong the implementation of these projects, the longer we prolong the agony of our farmers and fisher folks.
Okay, next question from Giovanni Nilias of Philstar.
Yes, sir. When we talk of reviving or using Masagana 99 and the Biyayang Dagat as a model for our food sufficiency program, sir, what mechanisms are we going to use, and then what would be our target time to achieve this rice efficiency in the country?
Actually, Masagana 99 was anchored on the introduction of a variety of rice which was producing more than the ordinary rice at that time. And that was the reason why they were targeting 99, no? Parang yun ang target nila. It also involved focus, no? Irrigation and fertilization. This was the focus of Masagana 99. The way I understood the president's statement yesterday was that ang sinasabi niya, let's focus once more, no? Let's focus once more. Kasi ang DA through the years actually strayed from its original mandate of really focusing on food production. It was involved on a lot of inconsequential and non-essential activities that did not really contribute directly to food production. And I think what the president meant when he said that let's take a second look at Masagana 99 and Biyayang Dagat was that he wanted DA to really focus on the two main things that the Filipino families would need on his table, rice and fish, or bayan for that matter.
Okay, last two questions. Ted Tuvera of Tribune, and then Rose Centenario of Hataw.
Good afternoon, Secretary. Sir, may last week po or 2 weeks ago may issue po na dun sa proposal ni DAR Secretary Rafael Mariano, yung moratorium on land conversion, na yung mga agricultural lands hindi muna siya pwedeng i-convert into other subdivisions, etc. Sir, meron pong yun nga po parang pagtatalo sa pagitan ng mga economic advisors ni Presidente at nung assertion nga po ni Secretary Mariano. Sir, ano po take natin dito, sir?
You know, there is no controversy there because I think the law is very clear. You cannot convert agricultural land to housing subdivisions. It's as simple as that. There's no need for a moratorium. It cannot really be allowed. No? The law is very clear on that matter. And in fact, in the Department of Agriculture right now, we are very strict in evaluating a specific area being applied for to be converted into industrial purposes or housing subdivisions because of that law. So I really feel that there is no need for a moratorium. All that we need to do is just strictly implement the law.
Okay, Rose Centenario.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, gaano po katotoo yung ulat na may plano po ang administrasyon na buwagin yung National Food Authority?
Well, all of these things actually are discussed during our meetings. Hindi naman siguro bubawagin. It's not really dismantling the NFA. Uh, what I heard from Secretary Leonzo Evasco Jr. was that they were trying to take a second look at NFA and maybe make it just a regulatory agency rather than a procurement agency. Because right now, we have to admit it, that the NFA actually could not really function as a price stabilization agency. You know, the NFA was initially created to buy a certain portion of the produce of the farmers in the hope that by doing that, it would be able to stabilize the price. No? Look, palay, for example, while the private traders are buying palay for 12, 13, 14, 15 pesos, the NFA is buying it at 17.50 per kilo, dried, 14% moisture content. But the problem is the NFA could only buy 5% of the total national produce. So it could not really make a dent, or it could not even threaten the traders. No? The capacity of NFA to stabilize the price is limited by its lack of funds. So right now, the thinking of some of the minds in the cabinet of the president is, let's face this reality. NFA could not function as a price stabilization agency. We might as well just make it a regulatory agency. NFA has been suffered losses in the amount of about 170 billion pesos. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and the only way for NFA to survive maybe is to write off that debt. No? Yun yung kaya napag-usapan yung NFA, but hindi abolish, kundi just maybe reformat NFA into a more functional agency.
So, makakaasa po yung mga mahihirap na magkakaroon pa rin ng bigas sa merkado na katulad ng NFA rice price. Kasi po yun yung inaasahan ng mahihirap na yung abot kayang bigas na kaya nilang bilhin.
You know, Rose, the problem with the Philippine grains industry right now is that it is in the clutches of the traders. It is the trader who controls the buying price of the palay. It is the trader who controls and dictates the selling price of rice in the market. You know, we made a computation. If only we could directly sell the rice from the farmer to the end user under a concept which we now call communal farming, rice farming system, where we will sell directly to corporate buyers like San Miguel Corporation, or in fact, the DSWD, yung kanilang 4-piece program. The farmer could actually receive as much as 17.50 per kilo of palay, and the government could sell it, or the cooperative or the farmers association could sell it for as low as 32 to 35 pesos per kilo. Kung walang intervention ng mga middlemen sa traders. That's how big the bite of the traders and the middlemen is to the income of the farmers and the buying price of the end users. So if we could actually just make this intervention, and we're starting this actually, the president has already given his go signal for the implementation of the corporate rice farming, where we organize our rice farmers into cooperatives and associations. Land Bank will finance them for their good seeds, fertilizers, and then we will link them directly to the corporate buyers. In fact, next week, when I come back from a trip abroad, we will already meet with the captains. There are corporations now who would like to exercise their corporate social responsibility, the CSR. San Miguel, for example, San Miguel Corporation. I talked to Mr. Ramon Ang, and he said, we would like to buy directly from the farmers para mawala na yung traders, yung supply nila sa mga empleyado nila. And so we're encouraging other corporations to do the same thing. Again, let me bring you back to the thing that President Marcos did. This was done by Marcos during his time when he ordered corporations to plant rice for their employees. And this is the same concept, actually. This is the same concept where farmers now will be provided with support to have access to good seeds, fertilizers, and of course good water, and then harvest facilities, milling facilities, and they deal directly with corporations needing rice supply for their employees. We could even supply the soldiers if the president would say that he will give the soldiers an allowance of a rice allowance of 1 sack every month. That's a lot of customers for the Filipino rice farmers.
Ay, sir, sana po kukuha ng rice importation permit kung wala ng NFA.
NFA pa rin kasi regulatory body nga sila.
Okay. Ay, yung Price Stabilization Agency po, paano po yung function na yun ng NFA?
Well, as of the moment, we will have to really wait for the final review. I cannot jump the gun on those who are reviewing the setup that NFA should be placed under. No, until such time, hindi ko pwedeng i-preempt yung issue na yan.
Okay. Thank you very much, Department of Agriculture Secretary Manny
Thank
Piñol.
you. We will be distributing this if you need the data. Kompleto po ito. Everything. No. Jan, paki.